Hi parents, this is Mrs. Clammers. I am making this video to help you better understand how we are dividing in class. Also, you can show your kiddos this just so they can have a little bit of reinforcement if they need it. But I'm going to kind of talk to you step through step about how we go about solving these in the classroom. Also, you'll notice that I wrote this on a lovely chalkboard. You know, I wanted to take you back in time a little bit, just, to get a good feel. And totally wasn't trying to call you or us old. Anywho, okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of different problems. The first problem that I'm going to show you would be considered a 3 by 1. So the divisor, which is the number on the outside of the problem, what we call that in class, this 4 would be either the divisor or groups. And so we're saying that there are 368 and we need to divide that equally into 4 groups. So there's a couple different ways that we can go about beginning this problem. Also, you'll notice that the division symbol does not look like what we were used to, but this is how the kids have learned it. And so it just helps them give them a better number sense overall. And so how some of the kids like starting this is to kind of take a little spot over here to the side to map out some problems that we know off of the top of our head. So, for example, like 4 times 1 would give us 4. 4 times 10, and I'm doing 4 because that's the groups of. It would be 40. 4 times, we could do 50. Some students would know that, which would give us the 200. And then 4 times 100 would give us 400. Sorry, this is messy. I do not have a stylist with me. Okay, so that's just kind of to help us kind of get a starting point for my students who don't understand this as well. So what I would ask the students is, there are 300s in this problem. 300s cannot be equally split into 4 groups. So I need to look at my 10s. Well, your children know now that this is 36 tens because we can't just, get rid of this 1,000. We have to turn it into hundreds. And when we turn it into tens. So when we turn it into tens, we'll end up having 36. So that is one way that we talked about it. And so we said, okay, well, how many times do you or can you put 36 into 4 groups? And a lot of kids weren't catching on. So what we started was doing this little box over here. And so I'm going to look at the one that is closest to, I have a 200, and up here would be 368. So that's pretty close. If your student or your child is pretty good with their multiplication facts, you could say, okay, I know that 36 can go into 4 groups equally 9 times, but it can't just be 4 times 9 because 4 groups of 9 ones, well, that would only give me 36. And so since I'm working with 36 tens, I can say 4 times 90. There is no exact correct way to do this. You can start with the 4 times 90 to get even closer. So like here we would have 360, and then we would do our subtraction. Or you could even start here with the 4 times 50 if that's what your child was comfortable with, and it's going to end up the same way. So I will kind of draw it over here to show you that it kind of all works out the same. So I'll put my 368 on the inside, my dividend, and then I'm going to stick with what I know. 4 groups of 50. 4 groups of 50 gives me 200. I'm going to subtract. Please reinforce with your children when you are subtracting to start in the 1 spot. 8 minus 0 is 8. 6 minus 0 168, and over here I just have 8. So you can see I got closer over there than I did down here. I'm just going to have more steps on this problem. So back to my original problem. So now I'm going to say that I have 4 groups, and I can put 2 into each of the 4 groups. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 gives me 0, so I will not have a remainder. And then the way that students know what the answer is would be, first of all, they need to make sure that they put the groups, which is also known as the divisor, on one side of the problem, on the outside of this division sign. And then they circle what they have left, and they add those up. So 90 plus 2 gives me 92. That is my answer. Down here, going back to just showing you kind of a different way of solving this, which I'm probably going to run out of room. Okay, so I just brought it to a new page. So what we said is we have 4 groups of 50. That gave us 200, and now we're at 168. We can kind of look back at this chart, and 200 is too big to be focusing on for 168. So we could say, hey, 4 times 4 tens. Well, 4 times 4 gives me 16 tens, which has a value of 160. And I would have 8. And then I can say 4 groups of 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So I put my groups of 4 on one side, and that is because I want to be able to come back here, circle what I have left, and add them up. 50 plus 40, 90, and then your 2. And so those are 2 ways that you can get your answer. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a division problem that will have a remainder, just to show you kind of how it looks a little bit different. So to start this problem off, like I said the first time, we could do our 4 times 10, 100. We could do 4 times 200, which would give us our 800, and so that's where most kids would be starting. And so we would say that we have 4 groups of 200. So 4 times 200 would be 4 ones times 2 ones, which is 8 ones, or 8, but this is hundreds, so 800, it would have a value of 800. And we're subtracting to get 53. And remember, when you write the 4 groups of, always put that either first or last. It needs to be consistent. So to get close to 53, a lot of kids would stick with the 4 times 10 because that's pretty safe and they're comfortable with that. So 4 groups of 10 gives me 40. I'm going to subtract and get my 13. So now I can do 4 groups of 2 to get 8. And now I have 5. And what I have told the kids is that if this number on the bottom is bigger than your divisor, you have to keep going. So my very last thing would be to do 4 times 1, which gives me 4. Sorry, I'm running out of room. And 5 minus 4 is 1. So I'll put that over here. Sorry. 5 minus 4 is 1. All right, so whatever you have down here, that is your remainder. So in this case, we know we're going to have a remainder of 1. Over here, we don't look at the groups because that didn't change. We look at what's different. So we have 200 plus 10 plus 2 plus 1, which when we add those all up, we should get 213 remainder 1. So I know it's way different than how we learned it. The students are learning it this way to get a better understanding of the numbers they are working with, the meaning, the value. And so we will be having a math division night coming up, and that should better help you or assist you in learning this. I know it's a lot to take in. If you have any questions or would like me to show you a couple more, please just feel free to email me back with some questions, or if you're not understanding something. And definitely ask your kids, because I have a lot of my kiddos picking up on this. So I hope this helped, and I will talk to you guys soon.